All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking some absolutely fascinating research by Katrina Lawrence titled Applications of Random Matrix Theory in Machine Learning and Brain Mapping. You know, if you've ever found yourself wondering exactly how scientists make sense of the immense chaotic data happening inside our heads every single second of the day, well, this is the explainer for you. We're going to see how researchers are using some seriously advanced mathematics to find true, actionable brain signals hidden deep inside incredibly complex biological noise.
To really wrap our heads around the stakes of this scientific detective story, picture this. Imagine you're in your car. You're trying to tune in to your absolute favorite radio station, but you're just slightly out of range, so all you hear is this overwhelming, crushing wall of static. But you know for a fact that somewhere buried under all that white noise, your song is playing perfectly. That is exactly what medical professionals are facing when they look at an fMRI scan. The brain is loud. It's constantly buzzing with baseline activity, blood flow, and all sorts of biological processes. So our core question for this explainer is, how do we find a single thought, just one clean, functional signal hidden inside pure noise?
To answer that, we're going to walk through 5 quick things together. We'll start with a noisy brain problem, then look at how machine learning steps in, explain random matrix theory, touch on the Marchenko-Pastur law, and finish up with how this all leads to discovering completely new brain networks.
So, Part 1, the noisy brain problem. Okay, first things first. When radiologists analyze a brain map to figure out how things are functioning, like looking for correlations between different areas, they don't just look at a flat picture. They look at what's called a voxel. Basically, think of a voxel as a 3D pixel that represents a very precise volume of space inside the brain. Analyzing these scans voxel by voxel is really the foundational building block for how doctors detect diseases, sicknesses, and disabilities.
But, and this is a massive but, here's where we hit a huge roadblock. Random noise literally hides the actual signals. Because the radiologist is trying to read these functional correlations one tiny voxel at a time, any random noise in the scan becomes a compounding absolute nightmare of a challenge. It makes consistently pinning down the true brain signals incredibly difficult. It's kind of like trying to navigate using a highly detailed map, but someone has just randomly spilled black ink all over the roads.
Which brings us to part 2. Enter machine learning.
Now, think about a human radiologist trying to read those ink-stained maps. There's just a stark contrast between traditional human analysis and machine learning analysis. Relying purely on humans to read these incredibly noisy brain scans inevitably introduces human error. I mean, we're human, right? We get tired, our eyes strain after hours of looking at screens, and our subjective interpretations can just vary from day to day. Bringing machine learning into the brain mapping process actively slashes that variable of human error. Plus, it dramatically boosts efficiency. Machine learning doesn't need coffee breaks. It literally thrives on sorting through massive mountains of data to find hidden patterns.
All right, Part 3, Random Matrix Theory Explained.
But here's the catch. Machine learning can't just magically wave a wand and fix the noisy brain problem on its own. It actually needs a highly specialized mathematical algorithm to do its job. So let's break down the exact methodology from Katrina Lawrence's paper. Step 1. A stimulus is presented to a patient while they're sitting inside the fMRI scanner. Step 2. The machine records the exact signal intensity in all those little 3D voxels we talked about. And Step 3. This is the really cool part. The researchers simulate this data as random matrices. Essentially, they take the intensity strength of the voxel signals for every single time interval of the stimulus, and they organize it into a massive mathematical grid, or a matrix. By translating the brain's squishy physical signals into pure hard math, they create a landscape that machine learning can actually navigate using random matrix theory, or RMT for short.
Moving on to Part 4, the Marchenko-Pastur law.
I know, Marchenko-Pastur law sounds intensely academic, but stick with me. Think of this as the ultimate tuning dial for our noisy brain signal radio. This law is basically a mathematical result of random matrix theory when it's applied to something called Wishart Matrices. In plain, everyday terms, when you have a matrix filled with random data, like our super noisy brain scans, this law predicts exactly how the fundamental mathematical properties of that matrix should be distributed. Those properties are called eigenvalues, so it basically gives us a baseline expectation for what pure, 100% unadulterated noise looks like mathematically.
So here is the crucial takeaway. The real scientific victory, convergence. What the researchers found was that the observed eigenvalue distribution of these brain matrices would converge perfectly to the theoretical distribution predicted by the Marchenko-Pastur law.
And this is mind-blowing. This held true no matter what type of noise was added to the matrices. Because the math holds absolutely firm regardless of the noise, random matrix theory proves to be incredibly robust. It has exceptionally high test-retest reliability. It basically proves that true functional brain signals can consistently withstand whatever crazy static the fMRI scanner throws at them.
And finally, part 5, discovering new brain networks.
Okay, so why does all this heavy math actually matter in the real world of medicine? Well, because random matrix theory is so incredibly reliable, it gives machine learning a rock-solid foundation to stand on. And that high test-retest reliability translates directly into tangible medical breakthroughs. We can now look at how the functional regions of the brain correlate with unprecedented clarity. This means we have a vastly improved ability to detect diseases earlier, spot hidden disabilities, and identify sicknesses that would have just totally been lost in the visual static of a standard radiologist to review. Tracing the correlation between these mathematical eigenvalues translates directly into understanding the functional regions of the human brain.
But wait, what happens when the math doesn't perfectly match the prediction? If the standard eigenvalues show us the strong, expected functional correlations of the brain, what do the outliers mean? Well, according to the research, any eigenvalue that differs significantly from what random matrix theory predicted isn't just a glitch or an error. It actually indicates something entirely novel. An outlier points to the potential discovery of a brand new, discrete brain network that we didn't even know existed.
Which just leaves us with this incredible thought to ponder. We started all of this by trying to tune out the static, just to hear a single known radio station. But by bringing in machine learning and random matrix theory, researchers haven't just cleared up the signal. They've realized the static itself might be hiding stations we've never even listened to before. If a single anomaly in the math points to a totally undiscovered brain network, what else is hiding in the noise? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it leaves you as totally fascinated by the math of the human mind as I am.